my channel. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe so you see more videos like this. And as you can tell by the title already, this is going to be my experience trying to join the military / my experience with M.E.P.S part 2. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and get into the video and pick up where I left off. Okay, so we got the bus, we went into the offices based on which branch that we were going in. And when you got in there, they had like a, I forgot who, like what you're supposed to call them, but there was someone sitting in there already that worked there, and they were on the computer and they just search up you by your last name, and they print out like a sticker label for you to wear around M.E.P.S the entire time that you're there. So we all did that, and then I can't remember the order that we did things there because it was so long ago, and I don't think that there was any specific order that we did things as long as we finished everything that we were supposed to do that day. But this is just what I remember. Again, I got my list here just in case I forget to make sure I got everything. So the ASVAB is the first thing that I really remember though, and that was when they had us all go into this room, and when you walk in, there's just a bunch of computers in like this empty space in the middle of the floor, and all the computers are like against the wall. Everybody's kind of, you know, just on the computer, and they got a piece of paper in front of them and a pencil, and it's so quiet in there you can literally hear like a pencil drop. And so you take the test. It's about, you know, 3 hours long, like I said in the last video. And after you're finished, you're supposed to bring your scrap paper up to the this desk that they have in there with the person working there again, just to proctor the test and make sure no one's cheating. You bring the scrap paper to them, and then they print out a paper with their scores on it, and then they put it in an envelope, and then they tell you not to look at it. I don't know what that is really for when they do that, but I think it's because like they don't want people to get upset or anything while they're in there and find out that they didn't pass the test. But that was something that kind of bothered me because I'm like, I just waited this whole time to see if I passed, and I couldn't even see. I had to go take my envelope, and they tell you to go put it in your locker that you kind of, they give you a locker when you first come in there too. I forgot to say that in the last video. But it's like this room where they got a bunch of different lockers, and I think if you wanted to, you could bring like a locker or something to lock it up. But I mean, I don't think anyone's going to be stealing at a time like this, so. Or you wouldn't even have anything really, like you would really just put like your phone in there and your envelope, and I guess like whatever you brought to the hotel with you. So yeah, then after you put your envelope in your locker, you go back in this other separate room where there's different doors that lead to different rooms in there. And I forget what we did first, but I know we took a blood test, and one at a time there will be someone drawing your blood, and they'll ask you like, do you get woozy or queasy at the sight of blood, just to make sure. I don't know, I think they've had like someone pass out before while they were getting their blood drawn, but I didn't. I was just, I mean, it was normal for me. I was just like, I'm ready to get this all over and done with. So they draw your blood, and then after that they give you your vision test, and that's when you like look through this machine that they have and try to see. There were different ones. There was one where there was like this like air balloon that I was supposed to be seeing. I don't know how it went exactly. And there was one where you see when you go to like an eye doctor or have an eye exam, and they ask you to read the letters off and stuff. And I ended up failing the eye exam the first time because this woman wasn't clear on her instructions when trying to give me this exam. Okay, so you know, like when you're supposed to read the letters off like one at a time to show that you know what they are and that you can see them. She told me to start with the first line. So I started with the very first thing that I seen, and I'm like, R, and she's like, no. And I'm like, you said the first line, right? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, R. It's clearly an R here. I knew what I was seeing. Like, it wasn't one of those things where I'm like, this is blurry, even though they asked me to take my glasses off. That's something that I don't understand. You see me come in here with glasses, showing that I need glasses in order to see, and then you can make me take them off to take my eye exam, which doesn't make any sense. Of course I'm not going to be able to see without my glasses on. What kind of sense does that make? That's why I wear them. So she had me take my glasses off, and I started reading the first line, but she told me that I was getting it wrong. And so I finally just assumed that she wasn't talking about the first line, and then skipped to the next line and started to read that one. And then she was like, okay. And then she stopped me, and she was like, I think you got astigmatism. And then she wrote some stuff down on her paper, and then she just moved me on to the next test. And I was like, wait, like, can I take that again? Like, I don't think I understood what you were asking me to do. Like, you weren't being very clear. And everything when you go in here is fast. Like, you're not going to have any time to think. You're going to be expected to move as fast as you can at everything. Like, you're going to be speed walking the entire time. And every demand that they give you is not going to be extremely clear. And they're not going to give you details on the directions that they want you to do. They just expect you to know and to figure that shit out as you go along. I want to put that out there now. So, you know, it's early too, and my brain, I don't know why, but my brain doesn't usually wake up till about 2 p.m. So I'm like groggy, it's early, I was up all night, and I'm still just trying to, you know, keep going with the reason that I came there. So I went on to the next test, and they gave me like a colorblind test, and I passed that with no problem because I'm not colorblind. Then we had a hearing exam too, and when we took this hearing test, it was like in this soundproof box that we went in. And they had different rooms only separated by like curtains. And as soon as you walked in there, they put on this headset that made it like even more silent in the room, and that you were sitting in a chair in your little sectioned off booth with a curtain, and you had like a little clicker in your hand, a little button, and you just click it when you hear the beeping from the headphones in your ear. No matter how faint the sound is, you're supposed to click it every time you think you hear it, so that they can see that you can hear even like the faintest sounds. It's going to start off with sounds I think that are louder, like the beeps or the tone that they use. It's going to start off where like we should be able to hear, and then it gets fainter and fainter and fainter. But really, you're going to probably just be in there clicking the entire time to make sure that you're not missing anything, because that's something that they can disqualify you on if you don't. So that's what really I think we were all in there doing. I was clicking every time I thought I heard it. Let's see. And then they put us in this classroom for us to fill out paperwork. They asked us basically the same questions that were on that packet that we filled out before coming to M.E.P.S. And something that's very important to note during this time is you don't want to put anything down on that paperwork that you already didn't put in that initial packet, because that is something that they could use against you to disqualify you. So when you go in there, they're gonna, give you this debriefing, and you're gonna fill out all types of paperwork with the same information on it: your medical history, your school history, like if you've ever had any suspensions, if you've ever had any convictions. They seemed really similar to the questions that you would see on a job application. However, they were just much more important to fill out exactly right. You basically was gonna go through and no to all of it, because if they see yes on anything, that's really like something that they will look at and try to disqualify you. Any little thing they can. So after we filled out the paperwork and listened to them talk in this classroom in these desks, what felt like maybe an hour, we then went to go take, for the women, we went to go take our urine tests. And they had a bathroom that had toilets next to it, like 2 toilets in a row, I think. And they gave us like a little urine sample cup, and then they told us to write our initials on them and stuff. And then when we get into this bathroom, there are no doors on the stalls. There aren't any doors on the stalls. You're expected to pee while someone is watching you. They have someone watching you pee in this cup to make sure that it's all yours. So you're expected, and it's the way that you do it. Like, they literally need to see everything. You pull your pants and your underwear down all the way down to your ankles, and then you sit, and then you have to use the cup and bring it around to the front while someone is just sitting at the sink right like across from you, looking in both of the stalls to make sure that you guys aren't using any fake urine, looking at the pee literally come out of you. So that was something I didn't expect either, but then again, I'm just like, let's get this over and done with. There was a very specific way we were told to do it. We were told to like not flush the toilet until we were finished, and then and to not even like, she told us that after we filled up the cup, to put it on the ground in front of us, and then we could finish peeing. Like, I don't know about you, but once I start, I can't stop. So I was just like, finish peeing? Like, what do you mean finish peeing? Like, I just drank all this water so I could take this test. But after that, we head directly into this other, what looks like this big room with these tile floors that are really cold, and they have you I know that because they had you go in these stalls that they had with no there wasn't any like toilet or anything in there. They're literally just undressing stalls. You go in there and you take like everything off except for your bra and underwear, like everything. You get completely undressed, and all the women do in all these stalls, and then they come out, and then one at a time, this doctor will sit here, or whoever she is that works there will sit there and weigh all
And then
of
she
us on the
asked
first day
us
of our last menstrual period, and a few other questions, like what branch we're joining, so she can look at this chart to basically see what we're supposed to be weighing, because for different branches, the weight and height is different, the requirement. So everybody one at a time got off and on theirs, and they were perfectly fine. I mean, these people are like slimmer, taller, like there's nothing at all wrong with these people than me. Like all these women get on and off with absolutely no problem. She's like, okay, whatever. She writes their numbers down, next, and then it's my turn. And like I said in the last video, I was worried about weight this entire time, so that was something that I was already kind of like extremely concerned about, and I already knew she was just gonna, like, something wasn't gonna be right, but I tried to be positive about it anyway. And so I step onto the scale with my heart racing like a drum, and it literally is like so hard to talk about after this point. So then she's looking at the scale, and then she's like, you basically, I don't meet the requirement. So she's like, okay, but let's see how tall you are. And I remember that they coached me the day before I went to M.E.P.S, like my recruiter and like his buddy that he was with in the somewhere he took me to basically get ready for the day before I went to the hotel and everything. They coached me and was like, you know, make sure you're standing up straight when they take your height, because they of course are going to use anything to disqualify you. And you're pretty short. I was 5 feet tall, and I can't remember exactly how much I weighed, but I think I was actually like 154. I think I was 154 pounds at 5 feet tall. But I was way more than that though. Like prior to me coming there, I was exercising and stuff and trying to lose weight in any little ways I can and putting myself on a diet, because I was actually like 175. And then I got myself down to 154. And then I tried to stand up tall when she was taking my height. I had to, you know, stand up against the wall. She told me, put your feet together. And this is all, again, quick. And she's not smiling with you, like talking to you. It's like, feet against the wall. Like, like she's not playing any games whatsoever. And so she's like, no, you don't meet the requirements. We're going to have to tape you. Again, nothing but my bra and underwear with all these other women. And I just felt so embarrassed. Like, all these other women just passed with no problem, and here I am, like this fat little girl who can't pass this. And I don't even mean to be like, in my mind when I was thinking about it at the time, I was thinking like, I just really want to go through the rest of this day with no problems. So I'm gonna give them the easiest time possible, so they are a little bit nicer to me, maybe. And that was my logic behind this, thinking that they really actually cared, even though it didn't feel right to me. So I went in the room that they took me in. They took me in a separate room to go be tape measured. She had me, I think, put my arms down by my side or lift them up, I can't remember. And she taped, I think, around my neck, and then around my waist, and then the thickest part of my hips, like the biggest part of my hips, which was my butt. And I was thick, I was big, so I failed tape measuring. She wrote down all my measurements and she added them together, and I guess that was some strange way of being able to tell how much of my body was muscle and how much was fat. I don't know what the logic behind that was, but it made sense to them. And this is the way they do shit. So I'm like, okay, I didn't pass that. She wrote down all my measurements and basically told me that if I wanted to join, I was gonna have to lose a few inches on my waist. And I'm like, okay, you know, I accepted this information. Like, this is something I'm just gonna have to do. So we go out there in the big room with the other women, again, feeling so embarrassed. We take turns, we all line up, and one at a time, they go look at all of our wrists. They go look at our feet, the bottom of our feet, and they have us duck walk across the room. They have us do this, little exercises like that and stuff. A few other ones too, and then they have a speed walk, once again wearing nothing but your bra and underwear. And I remember her looking at us like we weren't, like, I don't know, she was looking at us for a minute, like walking, well, I don't know what they were looking for. Like, she told us like to move faster, and then she looked at me and she's like, oh, you got to pick up the speed, like move faster. And so I started speed walking faster, but I'm like, I'm confused the whole time doing this, like, what are you looking for? So I'm trying. you know, to speed walk. I know how to speed walk, so I just do it. And then they have us stand on our knees and rise up from our knees without using our hands or falling off balance. So after we got on our knees and stood up without using our hands or getting off balance, they took us one at a time into this separate room that I was in before for her to tape measure me. We went back into that room and we were told to take off our bra so they could check. They put a paper over us so they could check for, I guess, lumps in our breasts. And then they called in another doctor or someone else, and for me it was a man, and he came in this white long coat and sat in his chair and looked at his paper, and I was told to take off my underwear and get on this table, and they did all types of exams. They'll give you an anal exam, a vaginal, like, I don't know what they're looking for, but let's just say they look at everything. Like, they look at your entire body, and if you have any like birthmarks or any like moles or anything like that, they'll probably ask you questions about it. Like for me, I have a few birthmarks, and they just asked like has it ever like grown, basically, like if it was cancer and stuff like that. So they're gonna pay very close attention to you and be that up close and personal, and that was one of the most uncomfortable things. It's just him being in there and not knowing like what was really going on. It all happened so fast, and they were all treating us like objects or something. Like, I don't know, it was just really uncomfortable, the whole experience. Like I didn't even know all that was gonna be going on. Like, I just thought they were gonna weigh us and that was gonna be that. They were gonna get our height, but that's not at all really how it went down. So after we finished with our full exams, our physical exams or whatever, and they did whatever they needed to do and wrote down whatever numbers they needed, that was pretty much the end of it, really. Then at the very end, they did have food for us. Like, they had sandwiches and cookies, and I think chips. I'm not quite sure about the chips, but and a bottle of water, and I think an apple or something, like a little bag lunch. And then they told you that you can go to your locker and go get the things that you brought from the hotel and brought with you, and then that you can go get a bag lunch, and then you could, well, for people who I guess weren't going to be swearing in at the end of the day, that you could basically go home. The whole time you're at M.E.P.S, by the way, you're going to be carrying around like this folder or like portfolio, like a bunch of your information or whatever, and you're going to be handing it to the people who are giving you like these eye exams and hearing tests and things like that. They're going to be asking you for it so they can like initial and check off that you went to every little thing. It's like a whole process, and that's really how mine went. So after I got my food, I was expecting to be swearing in at the end of it, but I was told not to open my envelope, so I didn't know that I didn't pass my ASVAB that day. I got a 14. By the time I left, I thought I did good in my mind, and I was expecting to like hear some good news from it because I just tried the very best that I could, and I did take my time. But I didn't know that I didn't pass the test up until I gave the envelope to my recruiter because he asked for it, and then he told me that he told me what I got. And then he said it's not that bad, though, that he could tell that I was studying because he's seen people get lower scores. And I literally just tried so hard to pass that test after that. That was really all it was. It's just this whole experience and me taking that test that day, along with going to that physical part, was the most uncomfortable. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace.